You're listening to the Chasing Tails Outdoor Podcast, where when you can't be in the outdoors, we bring it to you. Welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Tails Outdoor Podcast. My name is Walt, and Chase is not here for this episode, but we have a guest co-host and my little brother Duncan. We are fresh off a turkey hunt, and we're going to kind of talk about that trip and how it went. But before we do, we got to thank the people who make this podcast possible. First and foremost, our Patreon supporters. Guys, thank you for choosing to support this show each and every month. The money that goes towards that show helps me make trips to North Georgia, Central Florida, all the different things that we're doing. This trip was the gas money largely for this trip came from Patreon dollars, which was absolutely vital. A lot of miles driven on the truck back and forth at a slow pace on steep vertical inclines, and we just burned a bunch of gas, and we really appreciate you guys supporting us, help make those videos possible, make these experiences possible, bring them to you. And I'm currently editing the footage from this past video or weekend, and it'll be back up shortly. But if you don't know what Patreon is, you want to support the channel, get some free gear, get added to our Marco Polo chat community, go to Patreon. Check out the link in the show notes. You can go straight there, sign up. You get free hats, free stickers. Depending on your tier, you get thrown into the Marco Polo chat group where we all share information, motivate each other, share our stories. It's a great little group. Also, if you're looking for some banging turkey hunting camo, technical gear for this upcoming fall or deer season, whatever it is that you've got on your radar, check out screegear.com. They are an amazing company. Chasing Tails 15 promo code will get you 15% off any regular priced item, and they've got a bunch of sales going on throughout the year, so check them out. Of course, we can't forget Tethered. We have a teach and train coming up this Saturday, May 1st, and if you want to come over, win some free gear, have a blast trying out all of the new Tethered gear, have a free lunch on us, check it out. Go find the Facebook group, sign up. We'd love to have you there. Shake hands. We're going to be doing a podcast there with everybody. It's going to be a great time. Last but not least, check out Spartan Forge. It is the best deer predictive software that can help you make that best decision. We've all been in the situation before where you can't pick the tree that you want to hunt. You can't pick the place you want to hunt. Pull up Spartan Forge, see where it tells you to go, help the tool learn, help the tool help you learn, and I guarantee it's going to make you a better hunter, especially for deer. It is incredibly specific. I really enjoyed using it and testing it this past fall. It predicted every time right where the bucks that we killed this year were going to be precisely, not the exact location, but the type of area you needed to target. So check it out, and if you want to, use the promo code Chasing Tails, and you can get a lifetime membership price of $19. Now, that doesn't sound incredible until you really factor in that by the time the whole software is ramped up, it's going to be a $70 annual price. But if you use that promo code today, you get locked in at life for $19 a year. You really can't beat it. Go check them out. Go check and see what they've got coming out, because they've got some awesome app features that are about to pop, and it's going to be an awesome thing. So with that all out of the way, gosh, it took me like 4.5 minutes to get that all out of there. Duncan, dude, you and I tried this once in a cabin. We had some motorcycles come by, so we're redoing it. I'm excited. You're a little remote this time, so I don't get to look across the table and talk to you. But, man, we had a really good time chasing gobblers in the North Georgia mountains.
We had a phenomenal time, dude. It was so much fun.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate you fighting the mountain Wi-Fi guys. You can probably tell that the audio isn't the clearest, and I apologize for that, but they don't believe in 2021 internet or data standards in the mountains, and so as a result...
We don't believe in Wi-Fi, actually.
That's right, yeah.
Ethernet's the only way up here.
They're stuck in 2008, 2009, so the audio isn't quite right, but, guys, it's the merit of the conversation. I think you're going to enjoy today's discussion. We had a really good time chasing birds in an area that was unfamiliar to me, that posed some very unique challenges. And we're not going to go into the infinite details of the hunt, because that's better served watching the YouTube video. But Duncan, let's kind of give everybody a bio on you real quick. You're my little brother, 19 years old, not an avid hunter. I would say you're a small game enthusiast, but you're a diehard fisherman. But lately you've taken up hunting as an interest. Kind of give everybody a rundown as to where that evolution has really come into fruition.
You're asking for the origin story on why I'm starting to really enjoy hunting?
Yeah, kind of why you're starting to dip your toes into it, because I think it's a unique perspective. Yeah.
Well, I guess I was always a little high energy, as you like to point out, and where we hunted and how we hunted in the past was very still and always in a tree stand, or if we were on the ground, we weren't moving, and that just really didn't appeal to a 9-year-old Duncan. So I kind of took a step away from it and didn't really get into it until this year. And this year we went on that pig hunt down in South Georgia, and it was everything hunting could have been for me in my dreams growing up. And it's kind of just had me like a fish on a hook, man.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because that pig hunt to me was relatively novel. Maybe novel is not the right word. It was relatively standard, right? For me, I've chased pigs a lot. I've done a lot of that before. So for me, what that hunt represented was, one of the first hunts that you and I really went on, and I felt like you enjoyed the hunt. And that was special to me because we laughed, we had a great time, and we came away from that hunt saying, God, what a great time. And not every hunt's going to be like that. Sometimes they're going to suck, right? Weather's going to hit you. It's not going to be as good a time. But it was just really nice to have that moment where my passion crossed over into your passion. And because, we're brothers, we get to share that experience for the first time. And predominantly our outdoor experience has always been fishing and maybe going after a squirrel.
So it was fishing, small game, or not having a good time.
Right, and I think if I was going to if I was going to postulate what you needed from a hunt, was you needed a sense of adventure. You needed not nonstop action from a game animal perspective, but nonstop action as in we're constantly doing something. We're building a story. There is a sense of exploration and adventure. That's really the right word, I think. To the hunt and sitting in a pre-built blocks blind for 8 hours in the fall, hoping a deer comes by. Admittedly, we did it very poorly. I think there were higher areas to set, higher percentage areas we could have set up and seen more. But that didn't provide that sense of adventure for you.
No, and I think you really hit the nail on the head when you were talking earlier in the intro about how we didn't know this area, didn't being past tense, We had such an adventure just figuring out things that were in my backyard, essentially. The adventure was we didn't know something and we left knowing so much.
That's a great perspective. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there was endless possibility to what we were pursuing, right? After that pig hunt, you started venturing into, I kind of think I want to go deer hunting. I kind of think I want to go bear hunting. I kind of think I want to do turkey hunting. And this turkey hunt, as good generalist outdoorsmen, serves multiple purposes, right? You, me, we take after our father in that as the seasons change, we pursue that next season's offerings. Whereas a lot of people, they wake up each and every day and they're a turkey hunter. Each and every day they're a forester. Each and every day they're a trapper. And they have that like core thing. And you and I probably still have those core things, but we're very seasonal human beings.
For sure. I'll get burnt out on something real quick.
I don't necessarily get burnt out on things real quick. I think right about, and this might just be happenstance, perhaps there's something biological to this. Maybe it's a learned behavior. I don't know. But about the time a season ends, I'm kind of starting feeling ready for the others. Deer season's a 5-month season. I'm always kind of enjoying the different phases of deer season because it's such a long thing and because it straddles multiple kind of calendar year changes. For me, I have no problem with it being there. But about the tail end of deer season, I'm thinking, God, dude, it's going to be great to chase turkeys. About the tail end of turkeys, God, it's going to be great to go after redfish. About the end of redfish, God, it's going to be great for deer season. There's that seasonal change that I think I have. So being such a generalist outdoorsman, making the most of one season, but also building a foundation for the next season is huge. I mean, it's a big deal. We found great deer sign. We found good bear sign. We found good food sources, travel corridors, all kinds of cool stuff that we found. And I think it's going to help us build into those coming seasons. But my question for you is, having experienced turkey hunting, what impression, what impact did that leave on you?
It left me with a big bug. Like, I am all about it. And I've spent last 2 nights, one night, dreaming about it. And I mean that literally. Like, I have turkey hunted as much in my dreams as I have in real life right now.
Yeah. Well, that'll change with time, but actually it'll just get disproportionately that way, actually, unfortunately.
For sure.
But what struck you about turkey hunting? You've been deer hunting before. Now granted, you haven't been, all those things we talked about, we're going to get into together as this progresses. you haven't done it the way we're going to do it. But what going into turkey hunting, what did you expect, and coming out of it, how did that impact affect your expectations?
It was everything I expected, but everything. So I'll put it this way: it went down more successful than I expected, but as I expected, but more so. Like I expected, we'd have interactions with birds. I didn't realize how much fun and how much interaction with birds we have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like everything happened the way I had hoped for, but it was even more so. It was great. It was awesome. Actually, kind of unfairly cool.
I have to say, I think you were pretty spoiled for your first turkey hunt. We got on a bird that put on a show on three different occasions. We almost got him. Spoiler, we didn't. I guess that's burying the lead there. But,
We talked to that bird so much, though.
We what?
We talked to that bird so much.
Oh my gosh!
Like he answered to us so much. I'm so happy with how it turned out. So happy.
I think you and I ended this hunt saying, aside from having shot birds, like you could not have asked for much better of an experience.
Exactly. Everything fell into place except that final, push to get the bird. It was awesome. It really, every box was ticked except getting a bird.
Right. Which will come with time.
Yeah, it will, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you still have 3 weeks of your season left. My season, more or less, is going to consist of about 2 days left in middle May. You've got 3 weeks worth of hunting left, or 2.5 weeks worth of hunting to go, and I'm kind of optimistic for you because the area we found, adding to the sense of adventure, the area that we found seems to show very little sign of any human use. It's we've
got a key spot.
Yeah. And this bird, now we've named this bird the Mountain Monarch. One of the reasons for that is he has this little castle on the top of the hill where he roosts, and by hill it's a mountain. And so this little roost that he's got is virtually unapproachable in every direction. He can see down and underneath, these trees, kind of painting the picture for you guys. Think of a 2,600 foot peak, and below it's about 18 to 1900 feet of elevation, and between the top and the bottom is very, very little. It's a very mature canopy with very little sunlight hitting the forest floor, and as a result, you can see a country mile down there. And so when he's at the top, I mean, he can see pretty much in every direction. And even despite that, Duncan and I managed to put this hellacious strategic move around the mountain, up the steepest part of the mountain, bust over the top, and still get within 50 yards of him. And honestly, if we could have just decided where to set up a touch sooner, we probably would have killed that bird. I mean, he was coming to us. We hadn't even called. We just walking through the leaves. He knew a hen was in the area because we had been calling to him. But as we were trying, yeah, oh yeah, dude, right on a string. I mean, it's remarkable. But adding to that sense of adventure, we could pretty much go any direction we wanted to for miles and not have to worry about property lines or running out of habitat or running out of turkeys. Granted, there's not a lot of them, but the turkeys were there and there was no one else, so it was a higher ratio. I enjoyed it, dude. I thought that was. Let me ask you this: Are you impressed or underwhelmed with the amount of strategy that goes into like trying to get on a bird?
So impressed, but not surprised.
Right.
Yeah. Real quick to circle back, you said we were spoiled in that hunt. We got lucky, and we were to some degree spoiled. We did put in the foot miles to get to that bird, though. It wasn't like we walked in the woods and the bird was there. I want to circle to that. How many miles did we walk?
22.3 miles.
Yeah. We didn't just pop into the woods and have this bird. We did have to put the footwork into it.
Oh, yeah, dude, we're talking harder-earned birds. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are harder-earned birds, but you're right. We did paint this as like we just walked into the woods. We started our hunt midday Saturday. We ended it midday Tuesday, and every minute of that was hiking up mountain faces and down logging roads and dropping down feet in elevation over and over again. I think by Sunday afternoon, by Sunday we said we had covered 12 miles already in a day and a half.
The bulk of the movement was Sunday.
Yeah.
And we didn't count what we moved on Saturday.
No, and we didn't. We weren't even using the trackers then. So I mean, it's probably a touch further. With what we did Saturday, it's entirely possible that we actually probably broke somewhere around the 24, 25 mark. And I'm in no good shape, so it was a lot of work. My legs are still really tired.
Yeah, everything on me is tired, man.
Yeah.
I had 12 hours of sleep last night, and I woke up exhausted.
yeah. And they were hard-earned birds. I was worried that the amount of strategy in it would be overwhelming, in that it seemed like every time you would grab onto a rule, I'd be like, okay, so in general, we're gonna prepare for him to do this here, and then we get to another scenario, and you'd be like, okay, he's gonna come here. I'm like, no, because of this. I love turkey hunting for that, because to me, and it's been said many times before, turkey hunting is a game of chess. It's war. It's war.
Yeah. The bird wants everything to do with the hen and nothing to do with you. Right. And you really have to change his mind on that.
Yeah. And we did twice.
Yeah, we did. We did twice, and then he found out it was us.
Yeah. It was the ugliest looking hen he'd ever laid eyes on.
Walter was up front.
Yeah, that's right.
Never seen a hen with a beard before.
They exist. Bearded hens definitely exist.
Do they really?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're normally really small beards, and the birds are not any prettier than normal, but there's a genetic variation with hen turkey. You guys are getting a rare glimpse right now into just how raw Duncan is in the turkey hunting community, right? Like, that's something that's commonplace knowledge. And so I think, I don't say that to rub your nose in it. That's like I want everybody to know, like, the first time you ever went turkey hunting, that weekend, we got on a bird that was so hot that one morning alone, we both agree he gobbled at least 100 times.
I mean, we don't have to agree. It's on footage.
It's true. There's a 45-minute clip before we made the first move of him just hammering from 30 minutes before shooting light, literally from 30 minutes before shooting light, like 5:45, to when we busted him at like 9:45. I don't think that bird shut up once.
No, it was every 15 to 20 seconds he was gobbling.
It was unreal. But he was on that perch, and he could look down in every direction, and the natural order of things, as you now know, is we go to him, and when we wouldn't, he wasn't coming off that perch. But it does explain why, once we got on his level, he suddenly was just, once we got inside his bubble, which was an interesting discussion piece that you and I had. What was a turkey's bubble, right? It's that how close do you have to get to that bird before he'll respond? And the day before, when we set up on him and he was almost 200 yards away, his bubble was 200 yards. He was off that perch. By the following morning, his bubble was 75 yards, dude.
If that. We were 75 yards from the bird. He wouldn't come to us. It was smaller than that.
Yeah. And it was interesting because, like, you were like, why do you think he did that? And I would say, the moon, the wind, the Coriolis effect. And you'd look at me and be like, wait, how does the Coriolis effect impact turkeys? And it was that
really bothered me. It took me a good 30 seconds to try to figure out, do I really know what the Coriolis effect is?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just it's random, it's unpredictable. I mean, the bird. One of the lessons we learned was, and both of us learned, right? This is my second full-time turkey season. I'm blessed to have killed one bird and pulled the trigger a second time. I never dreamed these birds would go up the hillsides, the mountainsides, the way that they did. I assumed they would side hill. I would assume they'd use logging roads. And I can honestly say that turkeys just give no Fs about what direction they're going in the mountains. And I guess if you think about it, I mean, eventually they're going to get tired of taking trails when they can just walk. I mean, they walk the mountain every dang day. I mean, this is just what they do.
Yeah, no, it's just, walking through their backyard for them.
Right. Duncan, you said it best one day. You said, dude, those mountain birds are just built different. They just walk straight up the side of the mountain. They don't care. It's kind of... It's funny though, because then certain parts of the logging roads become strut zones for them.
Oh, for sure. Random. The birds have a way of doing it their own, and you would be very lucky to figure it out to a T.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah.
The bird knows why, and that's it.
Yeah, and he knows why now. Give it 2 hours and he may not know why.
Or it's 5 minutes from what we saw. From what we saw, give it 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, that day he was ready to die for sure.
Yeah, he was.
So what I guess you're still learning to turkey call. You're in the fundamentals of turkey calling. You got some locator calls now that obviously are working really good. We learned the value of the red-tailed hawk and the pileated woodpecker, the bird all the time, both the days when he was hot and the days when he was not. Those two seem to really draw from him gobbles. So much so that on the mountainside we both both logged into Amazon and bought calls. But what did you learn about turkey hunting that you're going to apply? Because you told me you're going to be hunting the rest of the season. What did you learn on that trip that what were your big takeaways that you're going to apply to turkey hunting moving forward?
That I'm not going to try and judge where a bird's coming from by ease of path. I'm going to look at ease of path, and then I'm going to look at the quickest route. And those are the two spots I'm going to be watching. And I'm also going to find the route that looks like he would not go there at all for no reason and watch there too. Like if there's a way for that bird to come from behind me, even if it means he's climbing 3 different mountains, I'm going to be watching behind me. Yeah, you said what were biggest takeaways? Where they want to roost, man. They want to be as high as they can get it and out on those overlooks.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, where I'm going to start trying to find birds in the morning is going to be when I can look on Onyx and find that type of terrain. I'm not going to be trying to find where they're going to be feeding. I'm not going to be trying to find where they're going to be traveling. I'm going to look where they're roosting. Because we know exactly what they like on that.
That kind of makes sense. I think that's an excellent point to start, especially for you. I think on the mountainside, it's going to be very difficult to isolate where they're feeding, right? Like where they're going, because it's very clear that these birds aren't leaving the heavy timber and walking 3 miles to get to a field. There may be birds using that field, but I don't think the birds we were hunting were the same birds that were there. They may do some crossover, they may do some hellacious walking, but that Tom that we hunted for 3 days straight, he never left that core area. Now that core area was quite large, but it was all heavy timber.
Yes.
And he went some places that if he had just walked in a straight path, he could have got to fields and better properties. But he was there for a reason. I have a feeling it has to do with the fact it was more open and he could see further.
Although, granted, there were hours at a time that he was gone that we have no idea where he was.
And it's true. I mean, in all seriousness, he could have he could have been in those fields. I mean, it's entirely possible. I happen to think he wasn't going that far. Because we would see him on the mountain that morning, midday we'd hit him in the bottom, and 4 hours later he'd be back on the mountaintop. I think he just, as much as I hate to say turkeys don't have a super big pattern, he kind of had a pretty similar routine.
Weirdly, routine, like you said, the word routine is the best way to put it. Wouldn't call it a pattern, but he just seemed to have a wake up, mouthwash, and go get coffee routine.
Right. Yep. That you just hit the nail on the head there for sure. What else? Was there anything else that you took away from that?
Oh man, I took away so many things. I could write it down and I'll be here for an hour. I learned.
What about gear? Let's talk about gear because you were hunting out of like a JanSport backpack. Moving forward, obviously maybe not for this. What?
I said the trip is real, man. Heck yeah.
Going into next year, what do you think? Because you do a lot of hiking, you cover a lot of ground. It's not like hunting Florida. What kind of gear do you think? How are you going to outfit yourself for the coming year?
For turkey?
Yeah.
Chest rig.
Okay.
I'm running a chest rig. I never felt the need to have after we started kicking out spots to sit, I never felt the need to have a pad to sit on, so I'm not worried about that at all. So chest rig, and that's all. I'm going as light as I can. Absolutely as light as I can.
I could see that. I think that makes total sense. I think there's maybe a way that you could make a I think there's some crossover that could be had, right? Like I think there are some sling packs out there that make a lot of sense for this kind of hunting. Where they cross over you. You got a water hydration bladder, but it's off to the side. It's lightweight. It's small.
Almost a satchel.
Exactly that. Yeah. Because you're also going to need, and I think this is an interesting phenomenon that you're going to experience. You're also going to need storage because in the early season you're going to be dealing with cold weather that warms up, and you're gonna be sitting for a long time and then not sitting for a long time. And You're going to need a layering system, and so you're going to need a storage location for that layering system. And so I think my prediction for you is you're going to end up using a lot of the same hunting gear for turkeys that you would for deer, with just very small
Uh-huh.
modifications.
Uh-huh. I think I'll end up packing some fishing gear with me too, because we walked a good ways back in there, and if there's nothing going on, I don't want to waste that walk.
Boy, I'm
And we were
telling you.
all around. We were around some premium trout water, some
Yeah,
premium trout water, and
yeah.
I could spend that midday cooling off and fishing, and then get back to hiking and see what I can find in the afternoon. So I'll probably end up finding some form that I can get a packable rod back in there and do a little tinkara fly fishing back there.
Oh, yeah, 100%, without a doubt. I think that's one way to an absolute. I tell you what, man. To be honest with you, that's actually a brilliant way for us to go about our pursuits in the future. Because midday, when those birds shut up, we could just go tinkara rod the the creeks and streams, catch some fish, have a good time, relax, put our feet in the
Yep.
cold water,
Yep.
rest our hell, strip down and rest your legs entirely in the cold water, and
Yep.
then 3, 4 o'clock
Yep.
rolls around, go strike a bird up again.
Yep, that's kind of what it hit me yesterday after you had left. That's really where it would have been at. That's like if you had asked me the question, you hadn't, so I'll go ahead and do your job. If you had asked me the question, what would I have done to make this better? Instead of us hitting a midday slump, I would have packed stuff for us to go fishing.
Yeah.
That,
I don't know that. I think in hindsight that's easy to say, but I think in reality, if you look at what we did and how much we had to do, midday, in the same conversation, the same breath we said earlier, had we been in better shape, those midday opportunities should have been
truth,
more scouting.
truth. You're
You
right.
know,
You're right.
I think there's 100 different ways you could skin the cat, and I could totally see a world where we bomb off into an area where we know there's fishing, take the Tenkara rods and go. But I don't necessarily know that in any of those cases we would have felt good enough. I think the only world in which we'd feel good enough to take the rods would have been when we knew where enough birds were, where we weren't worried about
Uh-huh.
trying to go find them. That is just like,
Yep.
okay, they're good in the
Yep.
morning, they're good mid afternoon. In that time frame in which they're not, let's go fish. Ooh, got to edit that
No,
out.
I agree. That's it. You got to watch that one, bud.
I mean, seriously.
I've done a great job of keeping that under control,
Yeah,
and that's not
God,
easy for me.
get it
If you think
together.
Walter's got a foul mouth, I beat him hands down. So I'm really working that right now.
Yeah, dude, you're doing a better job. I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons to be to take away from that. I'm thinking about coming up with a little bit lighter rig next year. I'm trying to find a rig, and this may just not be possible, but I'm trying to find a rig that would work really good for turkeys, but then we could have more crossover and be able to pack out a deer, because we're definitely not dragging one out of there. And I think the end result answer is I just need to find a dedicated lightweight turkey rig, and then just take my elk pack whenever we go deer hunting so that I can pack that meat out, because it just, the needs between the two, there's too much, like a frame pack is going to weigh too much to bring a deer out for turkey hunting per se.
We can always bring a designated big pack and leave it in one of those saddles and just have it for
That's
when we
true.
want supplies. We can go back there, grab our lunch, eat, and then, say we do get a deer. We can, come back, grab the pack, go get the deer.
This is
Kind of
true.
thing. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily. We can have a miniature base camp essentially that is just portable, drop the bag and go kind of thing.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a solid follow up. So moving forward, do you think that? Yeah, I kind of postulated this question before, but do you think that turkey hunting is going to eat into your springtime fishing at all?
No, because I think we just figured out. I found a way to
Combine
blend
the
the
two.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, blend the two, and then the mid season up here is kind of hairy from what we decided, and going into that, it could be the opposite, but we think it's kind of the hairy. So I'll be able to do a little more fishing early season for turkey, and then by the time I start to slow down on my fishing as summer rolls around, early spring or late spring, early summer, we'll really start to pick up turkey hunting.
Yeah, I actually I can see a world now where you will start combining your fishing and hunting together, because if you had the right pack, that Tenkara rod slips right in there. You can fish midday, you turkey hunt till 10 o'clock, you fish from 10 to 1, then you go home and it's a day.
Yeah.
I can see I can see a pretty good blend, and I will say this: the deer hunting, the turkey hunting from a certain perspective gets better. You said something, and I just want to clarify. The turkey hunting from a certain perspective gets better as the season progresses, and that is the birds aren't as henned up. However, I've killed 2 birds already in 2 seasons that should have been quote unquote henned up. And the reason why I would be hesitant to say it's better than it's not is if you know where the birds are and you stay on top of those birds, first off, your population is so low, it's not going to take them long to not be henned up, frankly, in my opinion. Secondly, I think it's also important to remember that at any point in time, a bobcat, a hunter, a trail bike rider, a motorcycle, a coyote busts up a flock in the afternoon, and that tom isn't able to link back up with the hens right away. And so in my case, I had a tom that I killed this year and last year that were both very clearly away from the group. He was gobbling. There was another group further down in the holler. He was just broke up in a way, and he was very vulnerable in that moment. So, I would caution you to right off the beginning of the year. I think it would be a very good time of year for you still. So, just wanted to, put that in the back of your mind.
At the same time, I won't be nearly as heartbroken if I miss a few weeks of that to fish.
Correct. Right.
I'd be real heartbroken to miss the time that I'm in right now.
Sure.
Especially when you weigh in the weather. And the weather for this trip was, oh my God, unbelievably perfect. It was barely chilly in the mornings, and midday was, warm at best.
Yeah, it really was pretty great, man. I think a little earlier it would have been maybe a bit would have been maybe a bit better from the standpoint of I think you would have had a little bit cooler weather, and then as a little bit cooler weather, maybe you'd have a little more activity midday because it did get pretty hot and those birds kind of shut down midday. But I mean, that's all stuff we're going to learn. Some people are like, man, I wish you got in a bird. And it's like, dude, first off, I had an absolute blast with my little brother. Secondly, I should not have, in year 2 as a turkey hunter, struck off to a totally different geographic area with elevation that I've never had to encounter before and been expected to walk away with a bird. That should have never been the expectation. The fact that we had 3 hair-raising encounters where we almost killed a bird, I had one of them at 12 freaking feet, that right there is an amazing hunt. I learned things. I didn't make stupid, boneheaded mistakes. And for me, anytime I can go into the woods, learn something, have a good time, laugh as much as we laughed. Good Lord.
Oh, my God. We spent the entire trip either laughing or heavily breathing because we're fat.
Yeah, it's true.
It was like the majority of the trip was laughing on the mountainside or dying on the mountainside, and there was not much of a middle ground.
No, there really wasn't, and he's not lying. It was a lot of both. I mean, it was it was a lot of fun. I feel like we've said that 100 times. I don't want to bore people, but it was a lot of fun to be able to get into the woods. Especially share this moment with you, as an aspiring turkey hunter. For you to have as awesome an adventure as you did, I mean, good Lord.
Couldn't have asked for it to be any better.
Honestly, I don't think so. So I leave you with this. What are your expectations? What do you want to do between now and next turkey season so that you're ready for turkey season?
I want to, more than anything, familiarize myself with these mountains. I don't necessarily want to be a really good fisherman or a really good hunter. I really like the idea and always have of being a really well-rounded outdoorsman. That's what, kind of keeps drawing me back to hunting too. So I really want to familiarize myself with these woods, kind of narrow down more spots for us, but also really get to know the spots we explored, and really work on my calling.
Yeah, that definitely needs some help.
Yeah, it does.
But and I don't mean that from a derogatory sense. I mean genuinely, that's something that takes a lot of people a lot of time. While I'm only a serious turkey hunter for the last, I don't know, two seasons. I can tell you that for specifically 2 seasons. That doesn't mean that I didn't have the 10 years of playing with calls that I had there during that time. And I'm lucky to have had some really great turkey hunters invest in me as a turkey caller. And so I've improved. But, it takes time to learn how those calls work. I think you should look into the Turkey Tech app. I don't know if I told you about that.
Have it.
Okay.
I already have it.
Yep. Scott Ellis has a phenomenal platform. In fact, I recommend that to anybody who's listening right now who wants to improve their turkey. Yeah, dude, it's unreal. I'm glad you're enjoying it because he's a great guy as well. He's got a bunch of material out there. But, yeah, I think if you do that, dude, I think a couple mobile rigs for you and I with a little bit of packability, to stuff some stuff. I mean, I think you guys should anticipate seeing some shenanigans from the North Georgia mountains.
Oh, for sure. I think we've already planned that we do the pig hunt again and we do this turkey hunt again. I think we're trying to do a deer or bear hunt this fall too, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So look forward to hearing lots more goofy stories about the mountains, I guess.
That's it. That's it.
What did you learn by chasing turkeys in the mountains that you will then take and apply in taking and chasing turkeys in Florida?
It's a great question, man. I struggle to answer that because the two areas are so contrastingly, I mean, just so starkly contrasted that it's very difficult for me to try and be like, oh, what I would do is X, or how it applies is this. And I think one of the things that it maybe is unconventional, maybe it's right in line with what people would expect me to say. I don't know, but I now have two locator calls that I didn't expect to have prior to this. You know, we had a real big conversation. In fact, day one, I told you and this just shows, you know, how you can get stuck in a rut. You were like, should I bring my crow call? I'm like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. They don't respond to crows because in my area, they don't respond to crows. I've heard one time I've gotten a response in several seasons using a crow call to get them to respond. But in the mountains, every time you touch that thing, not literally, but it seemed like it, every time you touch that thing, he would go off. Down here, the owl call is gold. Every time I use the owl call, I get responses. Again, hyperbole. It's not every time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, up there we didn't get a single response. And so now
not a single one.
No. And so when I come home and I'm assessing my gear, I'm like, okay, how oftentimes do I use two different pot calls? I can't remember using two different pot calls in a hunt. So maybe I leave one of those at home. How many different times do I use more than the two strikers that I've got? I've got 4 in my vest. I'm going to leave 2 of those at home. And instead, I'm going to start, I think, honing in my system. I've got a bunch of mouth calls that replace a lot of those multiple striker ideas, the multiple friction call ideas. I think I'm going to start moving into the direction of being equipped with the tools to make that gobbler talk. Again, the game of chess, the war game, making that gobbler talk without telling him I'm a hen. That was absolutely vital, paramount. It was the reason why we got that really incredible last encounter with that turkey, was because we were able to check in and ping on him where he was as we made that big move, because at any point in time he could have moved and the whole maneuver would have changed. You were able to hit him over and over again and get those crows to talk, and we spooked that red-tailed hawk and we spooked that pileated woodpecker, and every time we did that, that bird told us where he was without us trying, you know, without drawing too much attention to ourselves. And I think
it worked almost identically to how a sonar works.
yes.
You know, we pinged, he pinged, and we knew exactly where he was, and he didn't know we knew where he was.
Yep. Every time.
It made everything we did possible.
Yes, I agree.
Without it, we heard him gobble in the morning, and we would have lost that bird pretty quick.
I wholeheartedly. I honestly think had he not responded, had you not had the crow call, had you not been able to get him to talk the way that you did, I genuinely believe we don't even have close, remotely as good an encounter with him, because we would have been wondering the whole time where he was, and I think we would have blown over that top too quickly. Or worse, I think we may have called too high on the ridge, and we wouldn't have been able to hear him coming up. You know, I mean, it was just, it was, I can't express it enough. It was absolutely paramount that we had that locating option.
We were so close to getting that bird. We were so close. I mean, like close enough that I'm not even angry we didn't get that bird.
We had no business at any point in time getting
No.
that close to birds over and over again like we did.
No, we really, really did not. It spoiled me rotten. I've been dreaming about that, and I've been dreaming about fake hunts ever since.
Well, I think had we killed, let's say we had different birds, right? Had we killed both times that we had those close encounters, people would be going, "Dang, dude, like that guy's kind of legit." Right? Like, if they knew the full story, you know, they'd be like, these guys, they know what to do. It happened the best way that it should have happened, which was not killing the bird.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have. I don't think I'd be nearly as into this now as I was. Let me think how I say this.
You
I'm
wouldn't
still
be
tired from
nearly
that
as
time
hooked
period.
if you hadn't had such hair-raising encounters.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're fishing and you lose a big fish. It
Mm-hmm.
might ruin your day.
Mm-hmm.
It's ruined some of mine. But it made me come back to that spot. I came back to that spot and never hooked that fish again, but I still go back to those spots. And I think that's kind of what turkey hunting is going to be for me.
I agree. I
It
really
was
do.
it's one of those things when you lose something at the landing net, man, you never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And we really did lose those birds at the landing net. It spit the hook right there both times.
I know. It was close.
Too much fun.
It
Too
really
much
was.
fun.
It really
It
was.
was awesome.
Well, guys, the good news is you're going to hear more from my little brother. We're going to be going on more misadventures. We're going to have more learning experiences. We're going to bring it all to you guys raw and unfiltered, and obviously with curse words involved. But
Are we not editing the videos?
oh no, we're editing the videos for sure.
Oh my god! It's
No.
gonna sound like Morse code in the videos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was something, guys. But anyways, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Duncan, I appreciate you hosting me and going on this adventure. It was an absolute blast. But to everybody who's listening to this right now, who's thinking, wow, turkey hunting sounds like it could be fun, it is. Get outside and enjoy the great outdoors. We are doing everything we can to motivate you, equip you, help you pursue the outdoors on a routine basis. Don't just deer hunt. Don't just turkey hunt. Don't just bass fish. Get out there and enjoy everything, because there's a world of opportunity out there for you, and it's an amazing time. Memories last a lifetime. So until next time, guys, get outside and enjoy the great outdoors.